So what are Timbits? Timbits were created at WET, which is a peer conference, the workshop on heuristic and exploratory testing, WET number 4, which happened in Seattle in 2008. And Rob Sabourin was there, and he noticed, surprisingly, that Tim had some profound insights with his concise summaries of the 2-day peer conference.
So during the peer conference, I was still in college and didn't talk the whole time because I was nervous and all these, big testing people. So
James Bach, John Bach, Rob Sabourin, me, Scott Barber.
Right, so Rob cornered me and he wanted me to say something, and so I told him what I thought about the topic. And the topic was about boundary testing, and I said something along the lines of, boundaries are contextual, a curb on the side of the road is not a boundary for me, but it could be for somebody in a wheelchair, and they loved it.
Yeah. So Rob liked the idea so much that he co-presented 2 years later at CAS 2009 something like what we're going to do here. Tim feels the great pressure of trying to live up to his one moment of fantastic insight. And yeah, you don't really want to expect that much insight from us right now either. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through all the talks that we attended. I can honestly say out of all the casts I've ever been at, this is the most talks I've been to because I went to a talk in every session, which I've never done before. So usually I like the hallway conferring stuff, but we want to do the Timbits. So for every talk, we're going to give you one or sometimes two of our main takeaways from those talks, and then we're going to, if we have time left, which we should, we're going to ask you to share your biggest insight from the conference. So you can start working your mind thoughts on what were some of the biggest takeaways you had, and we'll have a brief open season after we've gone through ours.
So we're going to start with my summary of James's talk. And what I took from it, I don't think he exactly said this, but the active testing is free-form expression of thoughts and hypotheses executed to gather information about the quality of the product. A test case is but a still frame within that overall quality scene. So if you think of testing as a performance, a test case is only one scene or even one still frame of it.
And my takeaway was something that I hadn't heard before from James's bevy of information that Michael, and I teach, which was the Levy flight heuristic. And as he said, if anybody else here has heard of it, he'd be surprised. But that was where, sort of explaining how we do our exploratory testing, we take long stretches through the code, and then we find something of interest, and we forage for bugs there, and then we realize we've been stuck there for a little while, and we go off and we walk a little bit longer until we come across another area of interest, the way animals forage for food in sparse environments. There we go. So the next talk I went to was The Art of Persuasion by Ali Moreira. And my takeaway was when you're trying to persuade your boss to your point of view, you want to link your priority to that of your boss and that of the business. That will help you persuade them to adopt the method that you're doing. Anna is waving at us. Hi, Anna. Okay. Don't raise a card yet. No cards.
All right, so I went to Business Minded Tester by Hakan Ramberg, and apologies if we pronounce any names incorrectly. My takeaway was direct your testing, keeping the business goals in mind. So for instance, one of the metaphors he used, which I really liked, was McDonald's is not in the hamburger business. So they're not there to sell you high-quality hamburgers. They're there to sell you medium-quality hamburgers at a really low price really fast. So if you're measuring quality for McDonald's, it might be how quick can we get you the hamburger and not how good does this hamburger taste.
Which is really good, because if you were measuring it on how good it tasted, they would be failing.
Right.
Trish Koo's keynote.
That's me. Hey.
It is.
Yeah, so tighten up the feedback loop and everyone will be happy.
And mine was devs testing their own code typically makes the quality higher because they actually need to consider how they would know their code is working, like how they would actually go about showing that their code is working. I went to a talk, his title was way too long to put here, but it had I Don't Like You in it, by Hillary Weaver. A very entertaining talk. And there was one thing that she said, which actually had very little to do with the how to get along with testers, but it was write your bug reports as if it were for a memory-wiped future you. One of her biggest gripes was that bug reports are often written with vague recreation steps or inadequate descriptions of what the problem is. So she figured if you had to recreate this in 2 days after having your memory wiped, that would be what you'd be aiming for.
Right, so I went straight into, from Trish's talk to Ilary and Jan's talk, and it said a similar thing, and I really liked it. It's when you add a test specialist into a development team, everybody wins. So both in Trish's situation and in Ilary's situation, there is a tester embedded within the development team, and it works out really well. I actually enjoy that myself because I work in a similar position.
Oh, so you like this one because it was about you?
Yes.
Okay. The next talk I went to was Painting Like an Engineer by Alexandra Kasapu. And Alexandra mentioned something interesting that I guess was kind of obvious once she told me, but before she told me I wouldn't have thought it was obvious. But that's skill atrophy. The testing skills must be used or you will lose them. So, you know, she said a skill that I might have been very good at using last year or the year before, if I haven't used it since, I'm not going to be as good at it now. And I used to be an automation designer and for 8 years of my career, but I stopped doing that in about 2004. And now my automation skills are substantially worse. So I thought, if non-existent. So I thought that was a very interesting takeaway.
The next one I went to was Social Sciences and Art of Testing by Hybe Schutz. What I liked about it was social sciences like psychology, or excuse me, the social sciences like psychology, communication, history, etc. All play a part in our testing. It's not just about technology, and I'm sure you all have run into something like that.
And we actually wrote that one before Carol's keynote today. Right. I went to, the next talk I went to was Martin Hinier and Kristen Weidman, Why Testers Love Playing Games. And I was incredibly disappointed that there was actually no scientific proof that playing games makes us better testers. Sorry, I shouldn't say none. There was incredibly limited proof that there's a glimmer of hope. Actually, the one thing that isn't on the slide, so I'm not going to show the slide yet, but that was interesting, is that testers and people who play a lot of games burn less oxygen when they're solving puzzles than people who don't play games, which likely means, in my own opinion, not scientifically, that testers can probably focus and test longer than people, testers who play games can likely focus and test longer than testers who don't play games. But my takeaway from their talk was testers appear to be hardwired to play games. Even if they don't help us test better, they are still challenging and fun.
All right. I went to Patterns of Automation by Cheesy, or otherwise known as Jeff Morgan. What I learned is that he can code really well. What he did during his talk is get up in front of everybody and actually do automated testing. Sometimes they failed, sometimes they passed, but then told people how to refactor. It's very practical information about automated testing, especially with Ruby.
So that was all yesterday. Today we started off with Carol's keynote. Tim's takeaway?
Elements like observing, playing, abstracting are very similar to what James, Michael, and Paul teach in rapid software testing.
And my takeaway was similar, but it's how art is impacting the STEM fields is very similar to how art impacts software testing. So, well, that's fine. I think you understand. We'll move on. The next talk I went to was Coyote Teaching by Harrison Lovell, a Perscolis grad, and Michael Larson. And just so everybody who wasn't there knows, it was a pretty small room, and if you couldn't get in, that's too bad, because Harrison absolutely killed it. It was a great talk to see someone who literally started testing last August when I was teaching him at Perscolis, and he's been employed as a tester at Virtusa. Almost forgot. Sorry, Brian. Since November, I think, in that time frame, and he was absolutely killing it. But he and Michael talked about Coyote teaching the art of mentorship, and I had two takeaways from that: that good mentoring is very hard to do, and that as a mentor, try answering questions asked by your mentee with questions, and don't just give them the answer. That will help them figure out the problem on their own, and thus it'll stick better for them. I'll wait till he's finished taking a picture. You done? Okay.
The next one I went to, Mobile Apps Need Smart Testers by Danasakar S, or otherwise known as DS. One of the things he said, which really stuck with me, is it's a sin to test mobile apps sitting at your desk. And the reason that I liked that is because most of the time we use mobile apps is not at our desk. And so you have all those factors that play into how an app will work. In the office is like the perfect environment. When you go outside, subway, whatever, you're not going to have internet or all those things. And a quote by James Bach during that I thought was great. Thank you, DS, for no BS, because the talk was filled with very practical information on testing mobile apps.
And Ben Simo's keynote today about healthcare.gov. Tim's takeaway?
Healthcare.gov.
And my takeaway. Also, healthcare. Actually, no, that wasn't our takeaways. That was Tim's takeaway. Read it out loud.
It's true. All right. To be a good tester, you need to be a sort of a skilled hacker.
And mine was, you can test a product and find awesome bugs without explicit specifications. I then went to pair testing by Pradeep Narayanaswamy. Did I say that right? I think so. Anyway, wow, thank you. I practiced that for at least 5 minutes. I did have to leave early, and I apologize. I also want to apologize to Katrina for getting to her talk later, but business did call, and I had a conference call in the middle of that. But my takeaway from the pair testing talk was pairing with people in all roles at your company, not just other testers or devs, but also DevOps, operations, BAs, product owners, as they will all give you different types of insight into different ways of thinking as you're doing your pair testing.
The next one I went to was The History of Reason by Jeff Loken. And what he said is you can't prove quality with science. In the end, it comes down to value judgments by people who matter. But what you can do is prove facts that might alter those judgments.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So, software testing for scientists, Black and White by Katrina Clokey. I caught at least the last 5 minutes of her talk. Again, I apologize. But amazingly, only with 5 minutes, I got something pretty interesting. Proximal development, which was a term given to her by Aaron Hodder. I don't think he invented it, though. Which is try to show the need for what you want to teach to the team before you start trying to teach it to them. If you just start saying, hey, learn this, there'll be less acceptance for it than if you show them that they actually have a need for that information before you start teaching it to them.
The last one I went to, Bridging the Gap, developer to tester. One of the things that I liked that he said was proximity opens opportunity for empathy. And what he meant by that, or at least the way that he was saying it, is that he was placed, his desk was placed near testers, and his reaction that he had was, hey, these aren't just testers, but real people. So testers are people too. When you put people together, you realize that, and you empathize with each other's problems.
And finally, the last thing is Matt Heuser's keynote. Tim's takeaway from that.
Intractable transient of test.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, me neither.
All right. My takeaway was fragmentation within test. Matt gave us these. We have no idea what these actually mean. But you'll have to stick around and listen to Matt's keynote, which is the key point. So, we don't have too much time left. That took way longer than I thought it would. When is this session over? Somebody should know that, like me, who's facilitating this. When is it over? Somebody give me a time. 5:20. Oh, 5:20. Oh, okay, good. We got less. We got 14 minutes. Okay. Whew. I thought we were going to have that
We
time.
should mention about the Rosenthal. or we didn't go to any talks in here?
Oh, yes. We intentionally, except for the keynotes, didn't go to any talks in the Rosenthal because they were being broadcast, and we wanted to give a little bit of insight to the people viewing online as to what some of the other talks that they were too cheap. I mean, sorry, because it was sold out, they didn't have the opportunity to come and see. That's what I meant.
Perfect.
Thank you. All right, so open season. We would love to hear what your key takeaways are. I don't want to put that up there. From this conference. If you have a takeaway that you'd like others to hear, please hold up your green card and we'll send a mic around to you. And if not, there'll be an awkward 15 minutes of silence for the people watching at home. You got 31.
Yeah, you're doing.
Only one person has a takeaway. Oh, there we go. We got 190. We'll go with 31 while other people are finding their K cards.
Okay, my name's Rochelle, so this was my first cast experience, and it was fantastic. I learned a lot about just people in general. I had a very interesting experience exploring New York, and this room is just so full of knowledge that I feel like I can actually embrace and then take away a lot from this about sharing information. Listening more was a big one that I just learned in the last activity, so that was really powerful. And not being afraid to just stand up for something and go with it. So the Great Lego Revolt, rock on.
Thank you very much. 190.
Hey, it's Keith McIntosh. Great conference. There's an awful lot to take away from it, but the one I got a lot out of the Nancy Kellen session on emotions and how to deal with people in testing.
You said Nancy Kellen session?
Nancy Kellen's, and I think this is a Jerry quote, which I'm going to mangle, but the gist of it was, it's always a people problem.
All right, 147.
Is it still working?
Hey, once again, one of the biggest takeaways I got from this event is from Ben Simon's talk that there's different heuristics you can use to figure out how to test something when you don't have specifications yet.
Cool. Thank you, Winston.
Never mind.
Right. I know he's a runner. Let's see, you're over there. Let's go with 235. Where's 235? There we go.
Hey, so I'm Josh, and this was my first cast, and I just want to say, quite simply, that testers are really fucking smart. That was my biggest takeaway from this entire experience.
Are you a tester?
I am.
Excellent. Well noted. A bit further over, Jonathan, Joseph Robinson. So Jonathan, if you put it all together.
I should have hit my name tag just to test them. But this was my first CAST conference, and I'm relatively new to testing. And a lot of what I'm building on today is based on the training I received through the training programs by James Bach and Paul and Michael and Keith and all their involvement. But the biggest thing I got out of this conference is seeing the various people from different walks of life, different experiences, and how it all ties into the similar philosophies of testing, and the passion that people share was the biggest thing I got out of this. And yes, me too with the healthcare.gov. It doesn't work.
All right, on the stack, I have 191, 207, 88, 69, and 228. I had to say that because Claire was sitting with her card up for like 10 minutes. So I have it. Oh, and 232. All right, who are you beside back there? 88. 88 it is. They're next.
Turns out that it's not that weird that I collect random games.
You're 69 while you're right there.
Hey, my first cast too. I'm Damien from Columbus. Came here for one reason, came away with a whole bunch of reasons to come back. The real reason I came was I felt very alone in Columbus, Ohio. There's not a lot of you where I come from. And I realized I'm not alone. You're out there. You're just not in my town. So I don't feel alone anymore. Thanks for letting me be a part of this community.
Welcome. Where are you there? That's 228.
I just want to make a comment on Ben Simo's talk. One of the things that I took away from it, besides the entertainment value, was that you don't have to compromise your own ethics even if you're interacting with unethical people. I think that's a good example for us to take away.
Excellent. 52 at the back. All right, you are there. 191 should be near you. And it is.
Hi, I'm Jean Ann Harrison, and this is probably my 5th or 6th cast. I can't keep track, but I want to jump on Damien's and Joseph's idea about passion, and I'm not alone in the testing world. I felt like I was a few years ago, and it's really nice to be in a group where I can have a conversation where people understand why I love what I love to do. So keep coming back, people, because I really love talking to you all.
I have one from Ray Oy. Hi, Ray. His takeaway is not being present is bad, but made bearable with Cast Live. All right, we just did 191, right? Yes, okay, cool. No, you're over there. 196 should be right near you. Hi.
Michael Larson. I've been now to 4 casts, and I've been on the board now for 3 years. And that's one of the things that I admire about Cast and AST is they're willing to take chances on crazy newcomers. And that's great because you never know quite what you're getting with us. But really what my biggest takeaway is that this is a community that actually cares about each other, looks out for each other, and encourages everybody to do their best work. And for that, I am extremely grateful.
Cool. Just pass it to Harrison as he's right beside you.
Oh. Hi, my name is Harrison, and I'm a tester, as well as Ben and everyone else here. All right, so that thing that he said, I agree with that. But my main thing is everyone here is brilliant in their own right, but the presentations that took place, a lot of them closely relate to each other. The workshop that I was in had a lot of the key points that was in my my talk, and also Scoots, his talk also had
Shoots.
It's Shoots. Oh snap! It is. I test. I don't read. But also, like, his talk had various points from other people's talk. So it was like you get you go to one thing and you get reminded of it again and again. This way, it actually sinks in, and you're more likely to practice it or put it into practice when you leave.
Great. Thanks, Harrison. Claire. She's reading something.
Okay, so I have one to share from the internet. So Tim Western says that my takeaway is roller derby as an anecdote on insufficient resources for testing, but your mileage may vary with context. And my takeaway is that that the relationships that I form here are very enduring. And I don't come here for a particular session to solve my problems. What I come here is to connect with you, and then throughout the year, I learn from you. And when I run into problems, you're there for me. And that makes a huge difference in my life every day.
Thank you, Claire. 52.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bai Jie. I'm from China. I can see that actually seems I'm the only Chinese here. So actually, this is my first experience with the cast. I think it is fantastic. And my takeaway is that I really feel the art and the science of testing here. Thank you, everyone.
I just want to do a quick poll. How many people here are at their very first cast conference?
Oh, wow.
Whoa. Wow. Hold on, get a picture of that, Louis. Hold on, if you're at your first cast conference, put your hand up again. Let's get a picture. Hold on, Louis needs to get a picture of this. It is. Yeah. It's very impressive.
Keep him up.
Hold on, he's about to take the tell us when you're done. Their arms are falling asleep. All right, there we go. Thank you, everybody. Wow, that is a lot more than I thought. 153. Again, another one. All right, we did 52. Smita.
All right. I have 3 takeaways. First, okay. I have 3 takeaways. First
2?
is, yes.
Okay, I'll let you say both.
3.
3?
Okay, yes. All right, the first is my experiences and meetings with all the key people here, because I think anyone who's who in testing, I can almost meet all of them. So that was good. I would have not got this opportunity back home there. Second is to know how to organize a conference. I've been seeing a lot of it, and I want to do a conference back there in New Delhi, so yes, helps me to understand a lot of it. And my third and most important key takeaway is my James cap. So
James Buck hat, the Buccaneer hat.
Thank you.
239 is actually way up here. 239. Oh, you're 239. That's exactly what I meant to say. Actually, just pass it to 27. 16 will be your next one, which is Eric. Oh, no, you're 39. Go ahead.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Okay. Also my first cast, very happy to be here. Having organized a conference this year in another country, I can appreciate the pain and the tears and the sleepless nights that go in there. And so far, I can tell it's a very well organized conference. So thank you for that. I hope that helpers can go on stage later and we can give an applause and kind of cheer them on. Yeah, that would feel really good once you're done with the conference. No, yeah, just looking at you here. Looking at Keith Klein. All right. My key takeaway, or the words that have kept ringing in my head, are thinking skills and interdisciplinary skills, or then interdisciplinary thinking skills. I want to play around with that idea, but I really appreciate that this thought was brought on the table a number of times for me. Thank you.
Yeah. We have time for just 2 more.
Hi, I'm Gary, and my takeaway was that I expected there to be cliques here, based on my kind of perceptions of observing people on Twitter and their blogs. But what I found that was everyone was very approachable, and regardless if you were a facilitator, a speaker, or attendee, we were all on the same level, and nobody had basically set themselves apart from anybody else, and it was a very even playing field.
Great. And the very last comment, Eric, and then we got to get out of here because we're snapping on Matt's time.
My takeaway from this whole weekend here is to start thinking about the responsibility we have to each other to help us become better at what it is that we do, and our responsibility to the profession at large, and making sure that the things that we do, we can help them understand that and help them sell that to their bosses and help that become the standard for how people do testing going forward, instead of the crappy standards that people are setting up otherwise. Thanks.
Thank you, Eric. And thank you, everybody, for sharing your takeaways.